Beginning February 26th, country Nigeria, Eritrea, Kyrgyzstan, and Tanzania will be added to the restricted travel list. And refugee groups were quick to condemn the action. Frank Sherry, executive director of America's Voice, saying there's no justification for the policy other than bald-faced and unapologetic bigotry.
We're listening to ABC News.
Another school district in Ohio closing Monday to disinfect and sanitize buses and buildings. The Mansfield City Schools is making the announcement today. Superintendent Stan Jefferson assuring parents and students everything should be good to go by Tuesday, but that if someone is sick, they should stay home until they get better. This after the Ohio Department of Health said the second coronavirus patient in Chicago was in Cleveland about 2 weeks before he fell ill. The man in his 60s began showing symptoms January 28th, but Cleveland officials say he was in Ohio January 14th. Health officials say the patient during his stay states. Ohio's BMV starting emailing customers. The department wants to send people about the October 1st Real ID deadline. Emails will go out to anyone who's given their email address. The new driver's licenses will take domestic flights. Since July of 2018, the Ohio BMV issued a relatively small number of the federally compliant cards. The Ohio State Highway Patrol investigating a fatal crash in Concord Township overnight. Troopers say a 24-year-old Ashtabula woman was driving southbound near State Route 44. She failed to yield while getting away and was then struck by a truck. Wearing a seatbelt at the time, a 10-year-old man from Perry. And Ohio City is still playing a big role in Hollywood.
Maker Magazine, Cincinnati and the best cities in Cincinnati ranking.
You knew. You didn't know.
Starring Mark Ruffalo was shot in the Queen. Also Ron Howard shooting in the area. With the native Russo brothers having filmed multiple Marvel movies in the past.
Get me out of here.
In Cleveland, Liam Neeson, the Minuteman, shot in Wellington.
For more news, big news stories explained, not shot. Listen to the Daily Dive each day on the radio app or wherever you get your. I'm Kyle.
Newsfeed. Trending news. Columbus's news is on News Radio 610 WTBN.
If you haven't quoted Allstate lately, it's the perfect time. Now Allstate has new lower auto rates. You can get the same high-quality coverage and hands-on expertise now at new lower rates. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote now.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount price. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
Building a legacy of excellence requires
determination. So he might
above
talk
and
to him
beyond
since
to make
everyone
the
on
winning
Facebook
shot.
can hear us right now.
At Elkanel, clients are priority number one. For a winning team of injury lawyers, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO.
Elkanel, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
You might have to stand by the dump
From
button.
LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. That's located at 999 Bethel Road. I'm your host, Eric, along with my father, Phil. He sits to my left. Okay, guys. Okay. So I want to bounce something off you guys. You know, you guys, you're an eclectic bunch. You come from a lot of backgrounds, and I want to bounce something off you. Hypothetically speaking, of course, if one of you is having a problem with your car, okay, let's for the sake of argument say your engine light is on. Okay, your engine light is on, and for some reason, you've come to me to fix it. Okay, I'm just saying, you know, I reportedly...
I don't think I'd be doing that.
Well, but wait a second. Ed, I know cars. I'm in a car every day. I mean, every day I am in a car. I mean, who would know cars better than me, right? So, okay, maybe I'm not just quite qualified to fix it, yet you decide I'm your best option. Okay?
That'd be a bad day in Black Rock.
Probably not very logical. Really doesn't make any sense. But we continue to use this same logic with idiot politicians. And I mean idiot, because let me explain.
You shouldn't call them idiots.
Well, but listen,
okay.
In this scenario, I would tell you that I don't know anything about cars, and I suggest to you to speak to someone else who's an expert, right? That's a good thing to do. We're friends, right? Hey, go talk to someone who's an expert. If I didn't make that suggestion, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot for not letting you know my shortfalls and to recommend to you, right? Yet stupid politicians such as, well, let's just pick one, Virginia Delegate Levine.
Oh, there you go.
I'm just picking him out of the sky. He doesn't even have the common sense to recognize his shortfalls. And this week he got caught describing what an assault weapon was. And it was in a town meeting in front of all these people, and he ended up looking like a clown.
Sure
if
did.
you haven't seen it on our Facebook, definitely worth the watch. And actually, if you've seen it out there, there's a 2-minute synopsis of it. You got to watch all 8 minutes. It is it's hard to watch.
Yeah, because he demonstrates. He just doesn't talk. He demonstrates.
Well, you aim like this, right?
Yeah.
And you shoot like this with an assault rifle.
I mean, at one point he even says, and he's showing something like at a hip shot, and he's like, and this is what our military uses to mow down the enemy. I'm thinking, really, buddy?
And they don't aim.
Yeah. They don't aim.
They just hold it at their waist and mow down the enemy.
Pray.
And that describes what an assault rifle is.
And that describes our military. Yeah. I mean, our fine young men and women, that's what we do. We just mow it down. Yet, it makes you wonder, what else is he faking? I mean, is there any expertise this guy has?
Any common sense person would listen to what he's saying. And I picked out 2 things, okay? One is that he wants to have people register their assault weapons so that they know where they are. Now, even if they know where they are, is that going to prevent someone from taking that AR or the assault weapon and going someplace and shooting it up? No, it's only going to link that guy to the gun and say, oh, yeah, we got the guy, but he's already done his mass shooting. All right? That's not going to work. And also, what's not going to work is that criminals, the reason why they're criminals is because they don't obey the laws.
Really?
Really.
Yeah.
So he's making this into a law. How is that going to stop the disturbed person? Nothing is going to work.
No. JC, what was that? And we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but there's a stat, and it came out a couple years ago, and it was a publication in Washington Post.
Yeah, it was out of the Washington Post, and they took a look, and they just said, according to the FBI crimes, that only 18% of gun crimes are committed by people who could legally own that gun. 82% were illegal owners. They weren't the owner of the gun. It was stolen, trafficked, something, or they weren't eligible to have one. They were preempted from having them, yet they still got them somehow. So only 18%. 82% of the time, it's an illegal gun holder that commits a gun crime. And that was in the Washington Post a couple years ago, but that's where we are with this. The thing that scared me the most about what Levine said, that he goes, well, since you can do this with these guns, he goes, back in 1934, they had machine guns, and they passed the 34 Act, and we need to do that today. If you're going to have one of these, you need to pay a tax stamp, have a fee, fill out paperwork, have it registered to do anything that they claim is an assault one. And if you read what they claim, anything with a pistol grip. They had a guy with a turkey gun hunting turkeys. They said that was an assault weapon because his turkey shotgun, most shotguns and rifles now, they're easier to hold and pull them against your shoulder. And so they could claim anything is one of these. It's just that slippery slope.
Did you see, though, one of my favorite parts when he was trying to justify magazine capacity bans, and he says, if we can put, have them a 10-round mag in there, when they go to reload that magazine is hot.
It is hot.
Yeah,
it's a
hot magazine.
Wear gloves. Wear gloves, okay?
I mean, how ignorant.
Magazine. Go to your hot magazine. That must mean it's stolen, I guess. I don't know, but no, that's crazy.
It's just crazy. And the thing that's sickening apart, if this wasn't, it would be funny otherwise, other than
they're making law. They're making law. And
How do the people get elected? We need to run for office, JC.
This is really crazy. Really is. But you should watch it out there. It's on our Facebook.
Well, we are the owners of LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility and are active law enforcement. But for 1 hour Saturdays, we put together a group of firearm experts to discuss new products in the market, training tips, and oftentimes political topics surrounding the Second Amendment. Our commitment, though, is always to bring you the facts about our industry and ultimately help our listeners and our customers with safe, responsible ownership of firearms. Today on the show, we're going to talk briefly about a few items that got released at SHOT Show a few weeks ago that we didn't get to. Our man on the street last week, Hickok 45.
Yeah.
Guys, what do you think? Should we have him back? I don't know if we're going to renew his contract or not.
I think we ought to let him go.
I'm hoping he has us back.
I mean, I'm worried. You know, we're kind of family here. If we let him go, is he going to have a means of supporting himself?
Yeah, I wonder.
He might.
Yeah, maybe his 4.7 million viewers will chip in. Huh?
So we're going to get to a couple of those items. And actually, JC's Gun of the Week is one of those items, and that's going to be brought to you by Blackwing Shooting Center, and that's going to be coming up shortly. At 12:30, though, we're going to report on a few stats that we found interesting. And, you know, we always pride ourselves here of talking about the facts, and it's good or bad, and we call out people on both sides if we're not talking the facts. But there was a recent CBS News story released, and it detailed the top 65 cities that were the deadliest in regards to murder rates. Now, of course, this doesn't mean there was murder by a firearm, but a lot of times this goes hand in hand with gun violence and everything else. So we took a little bit of a deeper dive into those top 65 and actually just looked at the top 10 just from a time standpoint. And some of the correlations we found between the murder rates, the gun laws in that city, and the political affiliation of that city were rather eye-opening. So it's not a scientific study by any means. It was just some general observations. So we're going to look at that at 12:30. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Rampart Hosting, Toyota West, Jackson Lawn Care and Egress Windows, the Trigger Group, Blackwing Shooting Center, River's Edge Cutlery, CNS Engraving, and LEPD Training Facility, all who make the show possible each week. Joining me today in the LEPD studios, JC from the sales team. He sits to my right. My father sits to my left. Papa, one thing, I'm not going to give people too much grief this week, but you came in today and I said, you know what? I kind of had a little bit of an epiphany. And I think you've had these recently as well. I'm actually selling a gun today without buying one.
Wow.
Are you feeling okay?
Well, I don't know. It's just one of those. I woke up and I thought, you know what? I don't need that. I don't know why.
I wake up every morning thinking something different about my guns. Mm-hmm. You know, one morning I'm thinking, well, I'm going to give them all to Eric, you know. But then you don't have a place for them. And then once I do that, I'll want them back again.
Right.
So, you can slide them my way. I'll hold them.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll
you
relieve you of some of that burden.
Actually, I have done that. They're on temporary, permanent loan with some of our employees.
Yep. Speaking of loan and giving guns away and stuff, there's a momentous week this week. My son turned 18 years old, and just in case he's listening, because he likes to listen to the show.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know.
So that's why you're going to talk about this.
He might.
You're going to talk about this because you know he's not listening.
Probably. So our good friend Big Ed sits to my far right. Big Ed, our newest member, still on probation. But you know what? You can talk to Big Ed during the show on our Facebook feed, which is great. We're still working out some of the bugs, but it is a great way to get your message right to us. And actually, we've already had a comment on that, Paul. Somebody on Facebook said, "Is that Big Ed's face?"
That is.
Yeah,
you see that?
I was getting ready to say they've noticed already. I'm there.
Wow,
it's a better looking picture than the one was there before.
A big Ed with a big head.
But you know what, guys?
Well, I was trying to, or someone was trying to cover the other head.
I like that.
That's
looking good.
Now we are, guys. I don't know if I told you guys all this. We are doing an official photo shoot here at some point.
I've been hearing that for like about 2 years now.
Oh yeah. Yep. So stay tuned.
Things move slowly.
Well, by the time I get off of probation, it'll probably be ready.
Yeah,
that's right. Yours is going to be Velcro, just in case.
That's fine. That's fine.
If you missed a show, you can always catch the podcast. That's at 610wtvn.com. It's on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Facebook. Facebook is a great place to watch the show because you can see not only what's going on during the show, what's going on during the breaks, and actually we're going to try something different today. For those of you watching on Facebook, Ed's going to keep his mic open, which could be good or bad. Hopefully Emily is paying attention on her side, And
I haven't done anything wrong yet.
No.
And she's got her finger on the button.
Right,
Okay.
because once we go into break, Ed's going to talk to some of our Facebook folks and continue answering those questions. So, guys, it's that time for some of the news. Before we get to that, JC, two things I want to point out. I don't know if you know this, JC. We do a lot of private one-on-one training here. And up until this point, our training coordinator, Dee, has been the one that you simply send an email to. It's all automated now. So if you're looking for one-on-one private instructor training, which is just phenomenal here, it's economical, it's done by a great group of people, you can go to our website. And right there on our website, under the list of classes, you'll see one-on-one training, and you can see what times are available. You put your email right in there, and you book it. So that is something that we just got up and running. And then I also want to talk about two other quick things. We just got in a bunch of new drop-in triggers. So a gunsmith is really going to town on those. If you have you want an enhanced trigger for some of your handguns, we also got in a whole display of ones for rifles too. So it's kind of neat. You just bring your rifle in, you drop it in, and so forth. Last thing, this is hot off the press. Papa, you probably don't even know this yet. We're working on our latest sale. Now, most stores, when you run a sale on let's say firearms, you have a couple on sale. If we pull this off, we're going to have, you ready for this? 200 firearms on sale.
Wow, that's
200 firearms on sale. It's just what's so funny about that?
I don't know. It's just Papa.
Why is this off his mic? Is what I want to know.
Well, he doesn't even know it's off his mic.
Okay.
So that's coming up soon.
Sale one time.
That's a lot of fire, and they're just ones where maybe they've discontinued them, and we're ready to move them on and stuff.
That's great.
200.
200.
I mean, who has a sale of 200 firearms?
Is there any revolvers in that, Eric?
There is
no Model 10s.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, my God, he's got another.
And we have these listed on our site, right?
We're going to. This is hot off the
Okay.
press, so all the details are not out there as of yet. So, JC, you got a couple news tidbits?
A follow-up to one for the Ohioans out there. Obviously, the Second Amendment movement, we've talked about that a few weeks ago, and like 26 states have counties and cities that have joined that Second Amendment movement. And I mentioned at that time that Ohio, when I mentioned it, said only one of our 88 counties, Meigs County, had adopted a Second Amendment sanctuary. And since that time, Buckeye Firearms this week printed out a new list. And now Claremont, Jackson County, Lawrence, and Scioto County have all, their county commissioners have all moved to become Second Amendment sanctuary counties in Ohio. And then in Perry County, there's a Jackson Township, and their township leaders have made the move to be Second Amendment folks. So that's good. That's a good thing.
That is good stuff.
That's good stuff. Why not?
You got about 1 minute.
Yeah,
JC.
okay. We got another minute. One of the things that we didn't cover a couple weeks ago was Gunbroker released their list for 2019 of their top-selling firearms. We did ours, but this is a national one. The number one best-selling new semi-automatic handgun for Gunbroker was the SIG 365, followed by the Glock 26. This really shocked me. The Glock 26, according to them. And Smith & Wesson had the revolver with the Bodyguard 38 was their number one selling revolver. That really shocked me, too.
That's a nice little gun.
Gunbroker.
It
It's
is.
a nice little gun, but the second one was the Heritage Rough Rider 22. Those just shocked
What
me.
barrel length, JC?
Well, they didn't say, but they come in a variety. They just listed the gun. Semi-automatic rifles, the Ruger AR-556, followed by the Colt AR-15s. Of course, everybody's buying up all the Colts since we're not making them anymore.
Wow.
And the bolt-action rifles, Ruger Precision rifle sales took the number one in bolt-action rifle sales, followed by the Browning X-Bolt. And then for number three, the Ruger American Rifle. So from bolt-action rifles, Ruger had 2 to 3 spots. Just a couple more semi-automatic shotguns. Rock Island Armory's VR80, which was their number one semi-automatic. And then the excellent Remington V3 TAC-13 was number 2. And last on the pump guns, Mossberg, the 590 and the 590 Shockwave, both of those claimed first and second place with Remington.
Wow. That's interesting versus what we talked about a few weeks ago.
So, that's kind of what the pulse of the nation was for Gunbroker.
Great. When we come back from the break, JC, is his time for Gun of the Week, and the one he has here is one that we have in the store for sale, hot off the press, recently announced at SHOT Show. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Firearms Range. We'll be right back after the break.
The state of our politics.
The impeachment hoax.
He must be removed at all costs. The state of our economy.
Under the USMCA. We have the hottest economy on earth.
The state
of our
election.
We need big change. We are going to keep the White House.
The state of our
union. I can hear it in your voice.
Next Tuesday night.
The state of our union.
The State of the Union.
President Donald Trump.
Now, this is a critical moment.
News Radio 610. WTVN.
Hi, I'm Rick Germain from the all-new Germain Volkswagen, and we're starting the year off with huge savings during our grand opening sales event. We invite you to visit the all-new Germain VW at I-270 and Georgesville Road, or get started at GermainVolkswagen.com.
When you're searching for a new mattress, you may be faced with the choice between a traditional innerspring or memory foam mattress. But you don't have to choose. You can get the active support of a high-quality innerspring with the comfort of memory foam in the new hybrid mattresses from the Original Mattress Factory. With 2 new hand-built hybrid models to choose from, you can expect the latest in sleep innovation at the same high-quality and factory-direct pricing you've come to expect from the Original Mattress Factory. Visit originalmattress.com to learn more.
Your ABC 6 first warning weather for today. Cloudy and cool again with scattered rain and snow mix, possibly later in the day, high of 41. Tonight, cloudy and chilly with flurries ending low of 32. Sunday, clouds in the morning, then some afternoon sunshine, breezy and mild, high of 53. Geez, 53. It's currently 36 degrees on your severe weather station. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Breaking news and traffic and weather every 10 minutes. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And she's always gone.
Was that your song, Popo?
Anytime she goes away.
Was that your request?
Well, yeah, could be.
You know,
and you know, and that goes on, and he has that one segment that lasts about 2 minutes. Is that he knows.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah. Welcome back on Target. I'm your host Eric, joined today in the LAPD studios with my father, co-owner Phil, on the I don't know, on the vocals there.
I was on bass fiddle.
Yeah, JC from the sales team. Just to my right, Big Ed. Okay, next time, Big Ed here. In merely 7 minutes, you're going to talk to the Facebook people. I didn't have your mic on.
Yeah, I know. You tell me to get ready, and then you don't even follow through with it.
I'm a little sorry.
Way to communicate, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was the rookie here.
I can only hit so many buttons, and thanks to Em back there, who's not feeling great today, but she's still making it all happen on the backside. So, JC, it's that time for the Gun of the Week.
Gun of the Week.
This week, it's brought to us by all of our good friends over at Blackwing. You have something new there, JC, and actually it's getting a lot of attention.
A lot of attention.
What do you have?
I think people are pretty familiar with the fact that it's out now and for sale. It came out on the 20th of this last month. This is the Glock 44. And when you first look at it, and it's the same as I thought, and most other people did, because it looks exactly like a Gen 5 Glock 19, which Glock says is the G19 is their most popular firearm to date. So what did they do? They made a 22 long rifle version of it, and it's really, really cool because it's the same size. The holsters will fit your Glock 19, and they did this, of course, on a purpose so you can actually practice with a 22 caliber with less expensive, less noise, everything, but you can still get all your controls. The trigger pull, everything is the same. It takes down the same. So it's got the typical Gen 5 features, a beveled magazine well. The magazine, although it looks certainly like it's double stacked to fit into that open magazine well, but it only is a straight 10 round, just like most 22. So it's a inline 10 round magazine. It is so light. When I picked it up, it's like, whoa, what's going on? Well, because it's 22. It's a lock breech blowback type design. They use the power of the cartridge, and because it doesn't generate that much power, they had to lighten the slide. So it's their first slide that is a composite of metal and plastic. Metal on the plates that need it, but plastic where it doesn't. So very, very light, easy to pull back. It has adjustable sights, which you actually need for a 22 because the loads that are out there and the different rounds. they took their time getting it out. One thing Glock has is money for R&D, and they did that. They took 3 years of bringing this out. When they said we're going to bring it out after it's been perfected. That's kind of their key, Glock perfection. In that time, they used 141 different rimfire loads, 141 different 22 loads in their testing. They shot over 1.2 million rounds in their testing, which is amazing. And they used everything from a 42 grain subsonic to the high-powered CCI Stingers and things. And the last thing I mentioned, keep in mind that 42 grain subsonic. They said it functioned with all of that. As a matter of fact, Guns Magazine did a test on it, and they used, I think, 16 different brands of ammo with different weights, et cetera, and mixed in there. And they fired 2,200 rounds with only one cleaning, halfway point, and they only had 3 misfires. One was the primer failed to go off because it has a deep prime, and the other ones were failure to eject. 3 out of 2,200. So that's really sterling results for the gun. One thing I find is very interesting. The barrel, they claim it's still their marksman barrel, but it has a fluted chamber. So if you look at your brass, not that you reload these, you pick them up, you notice some different marks on there. They fluted the chamber to ease in the extraction. Heckler & Koch used to do that in their 308s. Also, you couldn't reload them, but it's supposed to help with the ejection. One of the things that we have available right now with this gun, and I did mention that 42 grain subsonic that worked with it, we have a Glock threaded barrel for a suppressor. So it will stick out farther, have the suppressor barrel, which I believe is also fluted. And so if you're interested in putting a can on there, you know it will function with the subsonic ones that they used. And we got the barrel right here. And
the Dems are not going to like that. The Democrats are not going to like that.
Oh, you don't think that's I call that the Pelosi barrel, but you think she's not really behind that, huh?
Okay.
And one other factoid here, which now escapes me. What was I gonna, okay, the can.
Sorry, John.
No, it's all made in the USA. It has Georgia stamp marks on the whole thing. It's not farmed out to GSG or anything. There we go. So,
guys, I hate to jump in here, JC, and I mean someone just asked the question, but I'm watching the Facebook stuff. Mr. Chuck Douglas listening in on with us. Hey, Mr. Douglas. Mr. Tom Susi listening in with us.
Yeah.
Chuck asked, why didn't Glock make this a double stack mag? And that was a great question. JC, was it because of the rim lock?
Well, you do. That's a good question. But rim lock can occur with that and some of the other semi-rimmed cartridges. They went. I think most of the folks 10-round magazines are what 22s have been going with, and they did get some remarks going. Why didn't they follow Kel-Tec, which they're coming out with a 30 rounder, 33 rounder. The Taurus TX22, it's got 16 rounds in it. Why didn't they do that? So unfortunately, Gaston Glock has not returned my call. I wanted to make a personal call to
Ed, can you make that call next week?
But,
absolutely.
But that's a good question that I do not have an answer to. But as we know, most of our 22s do have that. But I don't know why they didn't go. Maybe it didn't work.
Well, you know what, JC, good gun of the week. It's one that certainly, I mean, kind of, as you mentioned, I mean, it has great potential for training. I mean, you have that in the classroom, and then you slide someone right into the Glock 19. They did a good job. I mean, they fit in the same holsters. I mean, it's really, they did a good job on that.
This gun looks very identical to the 30S.
Very similar, very similar frame. Yeah, very similar frame.
That's what I thought it was.
We've sold a bunch of them already. We still have quite a few here.
But Yeah, and it's really, really accurate. If you look online, you see. I mean, it's a very accurate gun and adjustable sight. It's got a lot going for it. It really does.
Everyone who's purchased them here has had good luck with them. So good gun of the week, JC. Stop by and see them, and we're going to have one on the range here shortly. So that's good. When we come back from the break, we're going to get to a couple items that we missed at SHOT Show, and then get to looking at murder rates across the country. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
One of the biggest issues for men over the age of 55 is erectile dysfunction. Newly introduced European technology is now available. It has been proven to be over 85% successful in treating erectile dysfunction. Medical professional and top local doctor for erectile dysfunction, Dr. Ronald Brown.
I can talk now?
Erectile dysfunction for men of all ages has become much more common. In fact,
just don't say anything too bad.
Don't realize that
hey,
90%
Tony
of
Ashton's watching.
erectile
Hello, Tony. How are
dysfunction is
you?
a direct result of broken down old blood vessels. This
Adam
causes a lack of blood flow.
Adam hasn't been been in the store for a bit. Adam, you got to come back in.
Technology. We're able to
Also,
rid those blood
Zane's
vessels of
watching.
the
Zane,
plaque
how
and
are you?
scar
Chuck
tissue
Douglas, we
buildup
already
and
mentioned
stimulate
you,
new
but
stem
hey,
cell growth
Chris
right in
Jenkins
our
is
office
watching.
with no
Old Chris.
downtime.
Hey, Big Ed,
no
have you ever heard the
medications
Chuck
and
Douglas
no
show?
pain.
To book your
I can't say as
consultation
I
and
have.
get back to natural
Awesome.
functionality, call 614
FM 98.9. I'm going to say it since we're not on TVN.
That's
Awesome show. Love listening to him.
What's he talking about?
Get intimacy you deserve naturally.
What's he talking
Call
about?
now at 614
conservative,
8181. That's
like drive home stuff. Really, really good.
I'll check it out.
News, traffic,
Pat,
and weather for
Foster's
Columbus.
on.
News
Good
Radio
to see you, Pat.
610.
Thanks for checking in.
WTVN.
Zane.
The State Highway Patrol
Jeremy.
investigating after 2 died in a single-car crash in Wayne Township this morning. The crash occurring a little after 1:30 on Mechanicsburg Road. A 38-year-old Worcester
Tom's
man
message there?
swerved off the road, struck a
Tom Susie?
guardrail, went
No,
airborne,
McTurner.
struck an embankment, then flipped.
Tom
Both
McTurner.
he and his female passenger thrown from the car and pronounced dead at the scene. Cleveland Mayor Frank Jackson Friday telling the Plain Dealer that voters approving to increase the city income tax in
Did you see that, Ed?
2016
Show the
coupled with a
shotgun
growing
I'm
local
buying.
economy has left the budget
You
flush
got
with
1 minute,
cash.
Eric.
Jackson's
Mine are
budget
his.
sent to City Council calls for
did
$1.84
you want that?
billion
Yes.
in spending. And a bill
He
now
came
in the
with
State
cash in
House will
hand
allow
last
a
week.
long-term
Get
care
out of here. I
facility
don't
to
care.
conduct electronic monitoring for
It's good.
patients'
It's a done
rooms.
deal.
It's called Ether's Law to help
Apparently.
prevent
Get it, Tom.
elder abuse. For more news, listen to The Daily Dive,
You
the
guys
big
need to
news
call this,
stories
like,
explained,
off
not
target or
shouted.
something.
Listen to The
Your
Daily Dive each
conversations
day
off
on the
air.
Off
iHeartRadio
target.
app or
I
wherever
know,
you
I
get
hear
your
ya.
favorite podcasts. I'm Kyle
All right,
Cornell.
turn your mic off,
Find
Ed.
your dream getaway at the AAA Great Vacations Travel Expo. Explore endless travel options and book your next vacation right on the spot, February 7th through the 9th at the Ohio Expo Center. For more details, visit AAAGreatVacations.com.
The iHeartRadio app it's effortless, man.
I don't have to pay for it. I love that part.
I can listen to stations from all over the country. I'm actually from Cincinnati and I moved to Dallas. I love catching up with sports. I like it. It's really nice.
But this is super easy to use, and it doesn't make me feel dumb.
This app is always on the front page.
Actually, pretty nice to look at, too.
It makes things so much easier for me.
There's people out there that don't have this?
The iHeartRadio app. Radio, music, podcasts, all free. Free never sounded better. Download the iHeartRadio app today.
Live from LEPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric. We're joined today in the LEPD studios. That's a studio right in the middle of LEPD. How could that be? Actually, that was made by Paul. Paul, you, this is kind of your creation here.
You know, every time I look at this table and, you know, we sit around it, I'm thinking, this is pretty good.
It is.
really
We've
good.
had so many people come in and say, wow, that studio is right there in the middle.
And this dubs as a holster table. A satellite meeting room table.
It has.
I mean, it's nice
great.
and it's big.
It is
The
big.
whole Thanksgiving here.
People don't know Papa.
Yeah.
He's a master woodworker, and he just put this together. This looks. This is
And that's
totally
just,
professional.
And when
job.
Eric Trump was here a couple weeks ago, he
Yeah.
recognized that and spent time in your shop.
Yeah. Now, before I forget, too, that brings up something. I want to thank Nick. Okay, Nick is a professional engineer that followed up from our last show when I was desperate and I was reaching out, you know, for some help here on our utilities, and he called right after the show, and we've been linked up here, and hopefully it will be a pretty good, you know, partnership, and we get
That's
some
great.
of our So, anyways, in fact, I'm working on something right now for you, Nick. If you're listening,
I thought that was show prep.
No, that's not show prep. When I
Okay.
show the septic system,
Okay.
that's not right. Okay.
So hats off to Nick.
Going in
okay.
the tank.
It's all in the tank, right? Well, guys, a few weeks ago, the biggest show on earth for firearms and accessory owners worldwide occurred at the 2020 Vegas SHOT Show. And I know, Ed, we're going next year.
Yes, we are.
Last week, actually, but I might have another person going with this too.
Okay.
Last week, we heard from our man on the street, Hitcock 45, supposedly some up-and-coming YouTuber. And what, 4.7 million followers?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's just a holy cow.
If I could just get him to wear an LEPD shirt.
Yeah.
Send him one. I bet he'd wear it.
He probably would. We wanted to quickly finish up on that conversation, so I'm going to do kind of a rapid fire here. Tell you guys a couple things that came out. Give me, if you have a thought on it, and your thoughts going forward. So, Chris Vector. Everyone knows what Chris Vector is. Kind of that funky looking stuff. They came out with that in 22. Yeah.
I don't know what that would weigh, but they're a rather cumbersome, interesting design. But
yes. Also announced, CCI, great manufacturers of 22, have come out with a new 22 long rifle load to add to their already 152 options.
Choices.
What load is that?
I can't carry it.
On my notes.
I can't carry all the SKUs. I don't know. I didn't even look too closely.
That's another new load. Okay.
We mentioned this briefly last week. Sky, who is kind of I don't want to say it's a knockoff, but it's very similar to the Kel-Tecs and stuff, have come up with an RMR ready. I think it comes actually with a red dot.
RMR. I had that as one of my notes on there, but I kind of passed it over. It's a kind of a clubby gun. I won't say it says
like to take the clubs. Or?
Yeah. Well, take the clubs.
Or to use as a club.
Yeah, to use as a club. It's anyway. It's that we don't. Yeah. Okay.
In kind of to the reemergence of the 5.7 round, Gold Dot has come out with a defensive 5.7 ammo, which that's
really
kind of
good.
interesting.
I mean, well, it is because now Ruger's out there with one that costs about half the price of the FN, and it makes it a viable. It's a great cartridge.
And it just so happens I'm selling my CMMG 5.7.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
okay.
I got too much stuff, JC. Speed loaders, we might have mentioned this last week. Pawpaw, you know how we like the 38 speed loaders, those strips and stuff? Well, there's a manufacturer's coming out with them, the same rubber format, but in a cylinder format. So they snap off real easy to...
for them old guys that like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's nice. I mean,
Model 10 guys.
Carrying in your pocket. Yeah.
Taurus is coming out with a 9mm Commander 1911.
Yeah, they got a lot of kudos when they first came out with their 1911.
The Smith & Wesson announced, and actually a little bit before shot, the EZ9, very similar to the 380. A lot of the same good attributes. We're selling them, but they're not as hot as the 380s. But it's a good option out there.
It does have to have a little bit heavier recoil spring, so it's not quite as easy to pull back as the 380. So I think, but it's a good gun.
Walther has come out with the CCP N380. We didn't sell the 9, so I'm assuming the 380 might not be as big of a hit. I don't know. It's just,
it feels really, really good in the hand. And they said they have redesigned. Before it had to have a takedown tool just to take it apart. And if you like that, but I think it's better now. I think it is. So,
and then of course the Colt Python is big news. I don't know, guys. I mean, I saw them out there. They're going on Gunbroker for over $2,000 already. I don't know. We haven't had one yet. I don't know. I'm still.
Flash in the pan.
Let's talk about flash in the pan. Those SIG M17 Surplus. There's some indications that they're all out and done now. So if you wanted one, I'm not sure we're going to see any more coming through the dealer distribution network. So that means it's a gunbroker type thing, and they were already pushing $1,600, $1,700, $1,800.
We didn't have that many of them.
No, we only had a couple. I have a couple in my office still.
When I said that,
it's going to be on your Christmas list.
When I said that Paul was a flash in the pan, it's not the gun, it's the price. It's that high price because MSRP is like 14 something or other. So that'll drop.
And last thing, JC, and you have one right here, and just a quick thing on standard manufacturing.
Standard manufacturing, and it's anything but a standard gun, but it's from standard manufacturing.
It is so strange. It's appealing.
Yeah, right. And we had one of our customers order one, and I covered this briefly because I had never seen one. This, my friends, goes into the oddball category. It is a revolver. The revolver shoots 2 rounds at one time of the actually potent 22 Magnum. So it's an 8-shot revolver, and for those of you looking on Facebook, you can see it's the cylinder is just round like normal, but it's got 2 barrels, and in order to make this go off, it has a really, really long trigger, and you cannot pull the trigger with one finger. The top one has got the frame block, but the bottom one is the leverage that you need together in order to make. So I guess 2 fingers, 2 shots. I mean, I guess that kind of maybe makes sense. But so it comes 2 at a time. So you can do 4 pulls on this and put out there some of these 22 Magnum pills. And if you're using that Hornady Critical Defense, that's a 45 grain bullet. So you're shooting 90 grains at one time with each pull. But it's really, really unusual. It opens like a revolver.
Well, you know what,
open
John?
Trigger guard.
You know what? Either you're going to hit your target twice or you're going to miss your target twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's meant for close and personal encounters, and it's a very unusual looking gun. 2 barrels, no waiting, 2 at a time.
Kind of neat, though. You can stop by and check it out.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's like a fungus. It's kind of growing on me. So
Hey, now, being the largest distributor, not distributor, but the seller of holsters. Do we have a holster for that, Eric?
I'm sure we could.
I bet that 3i could come up with one.
Oh,
Those guys
yeah.
are really good.
You might need 3i to come up with that one with the way that trigger guard is. Guys, before we go into break, let's jump to one of our callers who's been on hold for a sec. Billy, you're on with OnTarget. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great, sir. What? Okay, I'm going to turn my radio down so you can hear me.
Perfect.
But anyway, what I have is when I was over in England as a kid, I was given a Belgium-made shotgun. All it says on it is made by a Belgian manufacturer. It has all the proof marks and all the marks on it. But I've taken it out to the Buckeye Outdoors, Vance's, and everywhere else. Everybody that looks at this gun says it's the most finest made shotgun they have ever seen. Do you have a location where I could bring this gun to you and you might be able to tell me something about it?
Well, have you been down to see Rex
Do we
Gore?
have a location?
Because he is a shotgun extraordinaire, and he really, if he knows anything.
He told me if I find out anything about the gun that he would love to know.
Well, bring it in. We'll take a look at it. I may even take a couple of pictures
well
with
of
it
knowledge?
and go see what we can find out. But when you say Belgian-made, there were probably 160 different gun manufacturers during those times in the Belgian area and in the country, and so a lot of manufacturers.
Great. And actually, I think we accidentally disconnected from Billy. But Billy, stop by our stores, 999 Bethel Road. Especially, we can maybe call in, hook you up when JC is here. Guys, we're going to jump to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the deadliest cities in regards to murder rates across the country. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
Your morning routine. Rise, rinse, and Riley. Joel Riley
Oh,
and
that's okay.
Columbus's Morning News.
We'll have the big stories you need to know and stories you didn't know
Okay,
you
we got 1 minute. If you need to do me shout out, you have about 30 seconds.
WTVN.
I got a guy asking about the Henry rifles. Do we have the new ones in stock? Any lever action?
We do, but actually we just got a used one in 44 mag that's like new with the rail and stuff. Hey, Matthew. Matthew.
We got a 4570 and we got a used one in stock, 44 Magnum.
Just add tax. The only qualifications have a current
And I believe
GM lease
there's
or
a Henry
non-GM vehicle in your household.
4570 back there
Sandoval
that's
Buick
brand new,
GMC
too.
has it all. Come see for yourself 1 mile south of the airport on Hamilton Road or at
So we got a few of them, Matthew. Come
Hi,
on.
this is Scott. And Melinda Grassett, owners of Columbus Mobility Specialists.
Did you know that we're the only custom modification shop in Ohio for the disabled?
We can adapt cars, boats,
Yes, ma'am.
scooters, vans, and even
thought I
lawnmowers.
lost you.
We will
Okay.
service
Oh,
and
no,
install
I'm
and
here.
repair any types of lift
You
for
can
your
just say-
vehicles, including hand controls,
We're gonna
wheelchair
have-
lifts, electronic
to go
driving controls,
quickly
and
through
stair lifts for the home.
The last
For over
part.
15 years, people have relied on Columbus Mobility Specialists.
ColumbusMobility.com or 614-825-8996.
Where do you stand with your retirement? Take the first step by visiting LegacyRetirementGroup.com.
Here, ABC6, first warning weather for today, cloudy and cool again with scattered rain and snow mix late in the day, high of 41. Tonight, cloudy and chilly with flurries ending, low of 32. Sunday, clouds in the mornings and then some afternoon sunshine, breezy and mild, a high of 53, Paw, 53. Currently 36 degrees on your severe weather station, News Radio 610 WTVN.
News headlines and where Columbus comes to talk. News Radio 610 WTVN.
Oh, Lord. Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric. Joined today. Will you sit down?
Relax.
When I hear music like that, Eric, my
It's a
feet.
great song.
Thank you, Emily. My feet get going.
I haven't
I'm
seen
sorry.
you jump out of a seat that quick since we had donuts in the break room.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a hot bath when I go home or something, or whirlpool.
Good song. And I'm Eric. I'm your host. We're here at the live studios at LAPD Firearms and Range. If you haven't been here, you got to stop by. It's definitely an experience. Look who just walked in the door there, JC.
Hey, our good friend Steve from
Yay.
Buckeye Firearms.
Right there in
One
the
of the
house.
founding members.
Big Ed sits to my right and JC to my immediate right. Guys, as usual, we are a little bit short on time, but I wanted to, if you listen to the show for any length of time, we've always had a commitment to talking facts about anything we talked about, and we've corrected people on both sides of the fence because we think that in order to affect violence in our communities, we need to have a sensible adult conversation, and that's done with facts. And we stumbled upon a report, and we thought it was kind of interesting. We've kind of thrown our own little twist on it. But a little bit ago, CBS came out with a story, and they did the top 65 cities in regards to murder rates per capita. It's a list you don't want to be on, right?
And these are cities that have at least 100,000 people, so they're...
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. So we always were curious as to if there's any correlation between these cities and maybe gun laws in that city, or maybe the political affiliations for that city. Because historically, when you look about it, a city that's run from a Republican standpoint typically is a little bit more open for gun laws and so forth, versus on the Democratic side tend to have stricter gun laws and a little bit tougher in that regards. And we, being safe, responsible firearm owners, we know that those gun laws don't affect the crimes, because the criminals are criminals because they don't obey the law.
Follow the laws.
Ka-ching.
Exactly. So we thought we'd just take a quick look here at the top 10. And we did a little research, and JC, I know you did a little bit more than me, but just see if there's any correlations, if there's any underlying thing that we're seeing. And of course, it's not a scientific study from what we did. It's just some observations.
Facts, and you can draw your own conclusions from it, but we take a look, and this is what they have. And it's not ours, it's CBS News put this out. So
Right. So the first one, the top of the list, the city that has the worst per capita murder rate.
Chicago.
St. Louis.
Really?
St. Louis.
This
now,
is per capita. That's the thing.
Gotcha,
it's not
gotcha.
the number of homicides, but this is per capita.
Per capita. And JC, you did a little research on the historically, how is that city run?
This has been a Democratic city for like ever. That's one of the things that shocked me when I looked down for the history of this, is how many of these cities have been Democratic. One of them since the 1860s has they hadn't had anyone but a Democrat in. And this has been a Democratic city, and but the murder rate is almost 61 per 100,000, which is just huge. So it's been there for a long time. And number two has probably even been longer.
Right. So something of interesting fact with St. Louis, one of the notes it made, though, is that even though it's number one, it has decreased for the second year in a row. And that decrease started in 2017. Now, don't know if this is any correlation here or not, but in 2017... the city gun laws are pretty favorable, and in 2017 they allow now permitless carry. So you don't have to have an official concealed carry to carry there. I don't know if there's any correlation, but it's interesting. Needless to say that people now, from my perspective, the bad guys maybe think there's a little bit of a threat that if someone they're going to rob has a firearm. So it's interesting to see, going forward.
Yeah, and I think those are very important stats that you're throwing out there. Let's face it. Look at the FBI stats, not ours. The FBI stats. Murders have been falling down across the country, almost every year. There's a little aberration here and there, but as you go look, they're falling and falling and falling. Chicago's down, LA's down, even though they have plenty. But gun sales, the availability, it's gone up by millions and millions of new firearms out there. More people are carrying, more people have concealed carry, and the homicide rates are dropping. So, there's got to be a correlation there, too. So,
right. So, JC, number two on the list of murder rates per capita is
Baltimore, Maryland. And we've talked about lots of stories about Baltimore, from how they're not going to prosecute anybody who can have 3 bales of marijuana illegally and have a prior crime record. That's okay. We're not going to do anything. Have a nice
so you
smoke.
Would say maybe not tough on crime.
I don't think they are at all. But they're 51 per 100,000. So that's a drop from the 61 almost in St. Louis. But yeah, they've had a history of it's a lot of violent crime in that.
And their leadership over the years?
Well, it's been Democratic for, really a long time. So, the Wikipedia's got all that. Mayor's
a quick look at their views on guns. So, a handgun license is required, unless you're exempt. Training is required, unless exempt. Fingerprints are required. to get a firearm, okay? It is a may issue state for concealed carry, meaning the applicants must demonstrate a good and substantial reason to carry a firearm.
Whatever that is, and determined by the police chief.
Right.
Yeah,
Permits are normally very difficult to obtain for ordinary citizens. So it just, let's disarm the good people, and I don't know.
Put
I mean,
restrictions on the law-abiding,
can you
and
draw
let the criminals do what they want.
a complete conclusion there?
They want to make sure that the guy who's got a lot of money that travels back and forth to the bank has some protection, and the drug dealer that has a lot of drugs, he wants to protect his drugs.
Well, and that's true. I mean, he doesn't obey the law, so it doesn't apply to him. So he's clear on that. So I don't know. Nonetheless, it's interesting. At the very least. Number three. Let me.
Did not surprise me at all.
Number three, Detroit.
Yeah.
And JC, how does that look politically over the years?
Can you calling me Democratic? That's been a. I can't even remember when there was anyone but that in that.
Legalized marijuana now, and of course that wasn't then. When this was going on, but
so you can be. Maybe they'll miss more if they're high. I don't know. Maybe it'll drop because of that reason.
Murder City.
When they're shooting.
I mean, the
somebody.
Motor City.
Yeah, 261 people were murdered in that city in 2018. So it's about it's 38.9. So almost 39 people per murders per. Now these aren't all gun murders. So we want to make sure that you really keep this in mind. You could be stabbed, run over with a car, clubbed to death, but murder rates 39, almost 39% in Detroit.
And gun laws there, JC, you have to, is what, a 10-day wait? You have to, once you get that, you have to go immediately to the local police department and register. You have to check in a couple of times a year.
To get a concealed carry permit, there's I think a 3-board panel that you have to go before to convince someone that this is what you really need. And it's about the most restrictive, one of the most restrictive. I mean,
so it doesn't seem to be like it's influencing murder rates. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's not. It's certainly.
I bet the bad guys aren't going before a 3-panel board to see, hey, can I really carry this?
You don't. They're not.
Yeah, no. I think that's one of the issues.
Number 4, whose mayors have long since been a part of Bloomberg's Mayors Against Illegal Guns.
I think the last mayor's doing prison time right now.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. So that's maybe not a good example, JC. But this historically Democrat-led city of New Orleans comes in number 4.
This goes way, 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 way back. I mean, it's a Democratic city. So, number 4, 37.1 per 100,000 murders. So, again,
not known for being tough on crime. I mean, you just get that sense that all of these play a role in it. Number 5, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. The gun laws seem decent there. I don't know what their influence is, but JC, the
political affiliation surprisingly is Democratic. I think that we're getting a little theme going here. Now we didn't make this up. We just looked and saw, and they've been there for a while. So it's not like this is something that. Is brand new. And there are 35.1 murders per 100,000 people in Baton Rouge.
Wow.
Baton Rouge.
Number 6, Memphis, Tennessee. Actually, decent gun laws. It's a shall-issue state, so if you don't have a reason not to prevent you from owning a firearm, they have to issue it, which is a good thing. They have stand your ground, but still we see Memphis pop up there. I'm not sure what other influences there, if it's just bad areas of town. Who leads Memphis, JC?
It is a Democratic. They had a Democrat, and a new Democrat came in and took over, and there you have that.
Maybe he has some fresh ideas.
28.5 per 100,000.
Number 7, right here in our own state, Dayton.
Unfortunately.
Gun law is decent in Ohio. I mean, I can't complain about them and stuff. Dayton, who's been on the front lines of leading that fine city?
Well, anybody who's from Ohio knows that Dayton is a Democratic city all the way around, from their state representatives there. That's the way it is. So anyway, 26.4 per 100,000 in Dayton, Ohio. Sorry we're on the list at all, but there you go. It's interesting that last murder, that they had it on the paper and they took it away, that last murder where the guy came out, was a Democrat who wanted to make a stand showing how bad guns were, so he came out and mowed down these people. I mean, this is a fact. It was in the paper. Then they didn't want people to realize what was going on.
So then he became part of this statistic.
Yeah, he said, I want to make a difference and show how bad these are, so I'm going to go kill a bunch of people. He also nailed his sister. She got killed, too, by him. So anyway.
Number 8, Shreveport, Louisiana. Back to Louisiana. Decent gun laws. Again, really not a whole lot to complain about there. What could be going on in Louisiana, JC? What kind of political leadership do they have?
Been Democratic for a really long time. Their murder rate is 25.7 per 100,000. And this, by the way, this is number 8. So, and the 3 of the top 8 are all Louisiana towns. So maybe it's that hot, humid weather down there that irritates everybody.
Speaking of hot, humid, West Palm Beach, Florida comes in next. Which Florida you usually think as having decent gun laws and stuff, but West Palm Beach, I mean Florida is typically a Republican-leaning state, right?
Yeah.
How about West Palm Beach?
It's been Democrat for a long time. I mean, it's been a while since they've had the change was Democratic, and there's someone there now, which kind of surprised me. I actually kind of think that maybe I've never been there, so I kind of look at Palm Beach a little well-heeled, and maybe. But anyway, 24.2 murders per 100,000 people. Again, maybe it's that hot weather. Who knows?
Number 10 on the list, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. comes in. We know the firearm stuff there is less than favorable towards the gun owners.
And they don't even care what the Supreme Court says. When the Supreme Court came out and said you can't do this, they went, well, that's okay. We're D.C. We're just going to do it anyway.
And, of course, we know how that's been led for a number of years.
Oh, yeah. What amazed me was the one guy who got convicted of cocaine. They reelected him. So he's
he's reformed.
He's in jail. I run from jail.
So, JC, I know you're
22.8 per end.
So, real quick, your last one.
Well, this was number 11, and I did it because we just had in Richmond, we just had the lobby day there with 22 to 30,000 people showing up there, and it's been Democratic for a while. The new governor of Virginia is Democratic there, but the mayor's been Democratic for a long time. Murder rate is they're number 11, and it's 22.6 per 100,000. So the top 11 are democratically controlled.
Interesting enough, Kennesaw, Georgia, where they have a law that every head of household has to own a firearm, hasn't had a murder since 2014.
They had one. It's 33,000 people in the town. It's not tiny, and they've had one since 2014 in that.
Interesting. Thanks for spending the last hour with us. Stop by and see us. We're at 999 Bethel Road. Have a good week.
From the Elkindale Studios, Zantac, heartburn drug, cancer. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO.
Might want to turn me on. There I am. Mags, how are you today, babe? See you checking in.
Buckeye, a shout out there for that.
Jeff, I hope that was all the information you needed on the Glock. And I believe we have a couple of those in stock for you at that price that you're asking about.
Megs was the only one in Ohio. Now 5 others that have joined, and potentially 6 more. So.
Ed, don't say nothing bad about my buddy Richie, who checked in.
I would not say anything bad about your bud Richie. I would say something bad about you.
Hey, who's this person that says you look sexy?
That's Maggie. Maggie Jenkins.
So you already got people out there, fans.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're as good looking as I am.
All right, Rick, ready whenever.
All right, here we go. Thanks, Big Ed. I'll catch you next week.
All righty. See you all.
Okay, here we go. This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we keep you updated on firearms news and products, and I have the Gun of the Week, sponsored by Rampart, powered by TTG. Tune in Saturday at noon or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road. This is Eric from OnTarget. This week we keep you updated on firearms news and products, and I have the Gun of the Week, sponsored by Rampart, powered by TTG. Tune in tomorrow at noon or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road. This is Eric from OnTarget. Today we keep you updated on firearms news and products, and I have the Gun of the Week, sponsored by Rampart, powered by TTG. Tune in today at noon or live from LEPD Studios on Bethel Road.
All right, thank you.
Hey, did you notice that there was no echo in the caller?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
I know that. I mean, everything sounded